A manufacturer that's winning more than half the races on the schedule. A rival who says the advantage isn't speed, it's strategy. And a technical alliance worth $8 million a year that only came out because of a lawsuit.
Ryan Blaney has won his way into the championship.
A great day for Kyle Larson.
Seventh career win in his 100th.
Joey Logano takes the checkered flag. Hell yeah, boys!
Yeah, this is the story of how Toyota quietly took over NASCAR and why Brad Keselowski just called them out for it in front of the entire garage. So here's where it starts. Halfway through the 2026 NASCAR Cup Series season, Toyota had already piled up 11 wins out of 18 races. By the time the season kept rolling, that number climbed to 13 wins in 22 races. Chevrolet had 6. Ford, the manufacturer that Brad Keselowski actually drives for, had exactly 1 win, and it came all the way back in March at Phoenix Raceway with Ryan Blaney behind the wheel. That's not a close season. That's a manufacturer running away with the championship while everyone else scrambles to figure out what happened. Now normally when one brand starts dominating a sport this hard, the internet goes straight to one word: cheating. And that's exactly what happened here. Social media lit up with accusations that Toyota had to be bending the rules somehow, because no team just wins this much by accident. But here's the twist. When reporters actually asked the people inside the garage, the drivers and team owners who race against Toyota every single weekend, they told a completely different story. Friday at Chicagoland Speedway, Brad Keselowski, who is both the driver of the number 6 Ford and a co-owner of RFK Racing, sat down for what one veteran NASCAR reporter called one of the most fascinating press conferences of the entire season. And instead of throwing around accusations of cheating, Keselowski laid out something way more interesting. He said Toyota's real advantage isn't horsepower, it isn't aerodynamics, it's the boardroom. According to him, Toyota is winning races through decision-making happening behind the scenes, long before any car ever touches the track. So what does that actually mean? Keselowski pointed back to a rules shakeup that happened between 2020 and 2021, right when NASCAR was developing the current next-gen car in partnership with the manufacturers themselves. Before that shift, individual race teams handled a huge chunk of the engineering work. But once the new rules kicked in, a lot of that responsibility moved away from the teams and landed directly with the manufacturers, meaning Ford, Chevrolet, and Toyota as corporations. And according to Keselowski, that one change created an unintended consequence. Each manufacturer basically ended up picking a favorite team to prioritize, an A team. Then everyone else got treated like a B team or a C team, scrapping for leftovers. Here's where Toyota supposedly broke the mold. Instead of settling for the usual pecking order, Toyota built 2 genuine top-tier operations instead of just one. Those 2 are Joe Gibbs Racing and 23XI Racing. And this is where the money enters the picture. During the antitrust lawsuit that 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsports filed against NASCAR, court documents revealed that 23XI Racing pays Joe Gibbs Racing $8 million every single year for access to its technical alliance. $8 million just to share information, engineering data, and behind-the-scenes support between 2 teams that are technically supposed to be rivals on the racetrack. Keselowski's argument is that this arrangement gave Toyota something Ford and Chevrolet never built for themselves: 2 legitimate powerhouse teams pulling in the same direction instead of one strong team surrounded by weaker ones. In his own words, he said there's a real argument to be made that Toyota is winning races in the boardroom through genuinely great decision-making and that they deserve credit for figuring that out. But he also didn't let the other manufacturers off easy. He said the burden falls on the decision-makers at Ford and Chevrolet to react and adapt within the rules because the tools to compete are available. Manufacturers just have to actually use them. Now, Denny Hamlin didn't sit quietly for this one. Hamlin owns 23XI Racing while also still driving for Joe Gibbs Racing, so he's got a front row seat to exactly how this alliance actually works. And his response basically said, slow down. Hamlin explained that Toyota doesn't force 23XI Racing to work with Joe Gibbs Racing at all. It's a business decision the team chose to make, paying that annual fee because it shortens the learning curve for a newer organization trying to compete with teams that have been racing for decades. He flat out said Toyota isn't that different from the other manufacturers in this regard. The real difference is simply that 23XI writes the check and Toyota doesn't mandate anything. So right there, you've got two very different explanations for the same 11, then 13-win season. One side says Toyota engineered a structural advantage through smart manufacturer-level strategy. The other side says it's just two teams that voluntarily chose to collaborate, and the results speak for themselves because the collaboration actually works. But this story didn't stop at a press conference, because while all this was playing out, NASCAR itself made a rule change that some people think was aimed directly at whatever edge Toyota had found. Starting at the North Wilkesboro race, teams were required to add extra structural struts to the front of the car's splitter, the piece at the bottom front of the car that helps generate downforce. The idea was to stop that splitter from moving or flexing while the car is at full speed. NASCAR journalist Bob Pockrass confirmed the change publicly, though he also noted that whether this actually targeted a real advantage, Toyota discovered is still debated inside the garage, especially since Toyota stayed strong even after the rule went into effect at Indianapolis. So was there something in that splitter giving Toyota an edge that nobody outside the garage noticed for months? Nobody has confirmed that directly. NASCAR didn't publicly frame the rule change as a response to any specific manufacturer, but the timing lines up close enough that plenty of fans and even some competitors started connecting the dots themselves. Now let's talk about Ford for a second, because their side of this story is honestly rough. With only one win through the halfway mark of the season, courtesy of Ryan Blaney at Phoenix, Ford has been stuck watching Toyota and even Chevrolet pull ahead. Keselowski pointed out that Ford's top teams, meaning Team Penske and his own RFK Racing, haven't managed to share information and strategy the way Toyota's top two teams have. And unlike Toyota, Ford can't even fix this with a mid-season redesign. The next real update to Ford's car, the Mustang Dark Horse SC, isn't arriving until the 2027 season, meaning teams are stuck racing the current body style for the rest of this year no matter what. It's worth mentioning too that this isn't the first time Brad Keselowski has found himself at the center of a NASCAR rules controversy. Back in 2022, his own team got hit with a massive penalty after NASCAR discovered RFK Racing had illegally modified a single source supplied part on the next-gen car. Keselowski was docked 100 driver points and 10 playoff points. RFK Racing lost 100 owner points, and his crew chief at the time was suspended for 4 races on top of a $100,000 fine. RFK Racing appealed, lost that appeal, and ultimately decided not to push it any further. So when Keselowski talks about manufacturers needing to play within the rules while still finding every legal advantage they can, he's speaking from experience on exactly where that line sits. So here's the real question at the center of all this. Is Toyota's dominance actually illegal, or is it just smarter than everyone else's approach while staying completely within the rulebook? Based on everything that's actually come out publicly, there's no evidence of Toyota breaking NASCAR's rules. What Keselowski is describing isn't a technical cheat, it's an organizational one, a manufacturer that figured out how to get two teams to genuinely function like one super team, funded by millions of dollars in technical alliance fees that are completely legal under NASCAR's current structure. Whether that counts as an unfair advantage or just smart business is exactly the debate tearing through the garage right now. What's clear is that Toyota isn't slowing down, Ford is stuck waiting until 2027 for real relief, and NASCAR's own rule tweaks haven't done much to close the gap so far. So the next time someone tells you Toyota is cheating its way through NASCAR, you can tell them the truth is actually more interesting than that. It's not a cheat code. It's $8 million a year, two teams acting as one, and a rulebook that everyone else still hasn't figured out how to use as well as Toyota has. If this kind of behind-the-scenes NASCAR drama is what you're here for, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we're breaking down stories like this every single week, and you don't want to miss the next one.